I'm so excited to share with you my first video on my channel where I'm going to be sharing my favorite books of 2022. This is the first video on my channel, like I've said, and I'm very excited to post in the future other book content such as book reviews, book recommendations, book hauls, and so much more. And I'm so excited to build a community on here with like-minded people that are passionate about reading. And I would love to know your thoughts and ideas too. So without further ado, let's get into my favorite books of 2022. Okay, so Jude and Carden Have My Heart, the ultimate enemies to lovers. So this is an amazing YA fantasy romance, and it is by Holly Black, The Cruel Prince. This is my first recommendation. Well, it is a series. There's a 3-book series and there's a short story collection as well. After that, I'm just going to recommend the first one to start off. The back says, "One terrible morning, Jude and her sisters see their parents murdered. The fearsome assassin abducts all 3 girls to the fairy court, where Jude soon realizes that to survive, she needs to be as cunning and deceitful as the Fae themselves. But the stairway to power is fraught with shadows and betrayal, and looming over all is the arrogant and charismatic Prince." This is amazing. I was completely swept up in the world of the fantasy that was written in here by Holly Black. So lush, so dark, so amazing. It beautifully encapsulates fantasy and whimsical elements and creatures. There's humans and elves and fairies and plenty of other creatures as well. It's like a fairy tale, kind of, but with a darker twist. It's amazing. I absolutely love Jude and Carden. They're one of my all-time favorite book couples. So highly recommend The Cruel Prince. Okay, the next book I'm going to recommend is the saddest and most devastating thing I have ever read. It absolutely left me, I was horrified and I was broken. So it's very difficult to read. I'm going to say that. Please check the trigger warnings before reading this book. It is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I had the pleasure of going to her talk and meeting her when she came to Sydney. She's an amazing writer. This is about 4 friends and their journey and their lives in detail. So it's very character-based instead of plot-based, I would say, and it focuses mainly on Jude. So it's about Jude's life, and you see flashbacks and how he grows up, in what circumstances, what trauma he's had to endure as a child, and what makes him the way he is now. So it's really difficult to read. I was afraid to continue reading this book at most points. It is terrifying. It is the saddest thing in the world. So please be careful when reading it. So whilst reading it, all I could wish for most of the time was that I could just give Jude, the main character, a big hug, and I wish I could save him. But of course I felt so helpless. It was out of my control. He's of course a fictional character, but you feel this strong sense of attachment towards him, and you want what is best for him, and you wish that his outcomes in life were different. So you really feel attached to the character in the story. You feel very protective towards him, and you feel very emotional. It's a very emotional read. So it's very beautifully written, very detailed. And if I spent too much time thinking about Jude's character and the story, I would definitely get very teary. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've read it, a few months now, but it's got a very special place in my heart, and I'm going to think of Jude's character fondly forever. So this is an amazing book, A Little Life. Okay, the next book I'm going to recommend is a non-fiction. It is a memoir, and it's the best memoir that I've ever read. This is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is based on Chanel Miller's Stanford sexual assault case that you might have heard of maybe on the news, maybe on social media. As a woman, I felt so much empathy for her whilst reading this, and I could relate to her on so many levels as well, in terms of unwanted attention, catcalling, and blatant disrespect from men. So this is a very powerful book. And I have so much respect and admiration for Chanel after reading this case in much more detail from her perspective, because she's turned out to be a much more resilient and stronger person in spite of it. So the back of the book says, Chanel Miller's story changed our world forever. In 2016, Brock Turner was sentenced to just 6 months in jail after he was caught sexually assaulting her on Stanford's campus. His light sentencing and Chanel's victim impact statement, which was read by 11 million people in 4 days, sparked international outrage and action. Know My Name is an intimate, profoundly moving memoir that exposes a patriarchal culture biased to protect perpetrators, a criminal justice system designed to fail the most vulnerable, and ultimately shines with the courage required to move through suffering and live a full and beautiful life. Intertwining pain, resilience, and humor, this breathtaking memoir will stand as a modern classic. So I highly recommend this memoir. I think it's the best one I've read so far. Know My Name by Chanel Miller. The next book that made my list of the top 10 books of 2022 is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and there's a movie coming out, which I've heard, and I'm very excited about that. The back says, oh, by the way, let's get into a little bit about the story. So this is about a girl called Lily, and about her life, and there's flashbacks of her childhood and about her life as an adult at present day as well. And this isn't just a romance story, so please check the trigger warnings before reading this book as well, because it deals heavily with themes such as domestic violence and abusive relationships. So the back of this book says, Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe even a little arrogant. He is also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily, but Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love, and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. With this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. It Ends With Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes at an ultimate price. So that's the back of the book, and of course it's had amazing reviews, but please check the trigger warnings before that. It's just not just a romance story. It does have 2 love interests, second chance romance as well, but it does have quite heavy themes of domestic violence in this. So that is an amazing book and one of my all-time favorites. The next book I have that made my top 10 list of 2022 is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This book was so beautiful, like the images I had in my mind whilst reading this. My favorite season is autumn, and the prince from this story is the autumn prince. So there were beautiful descriptions of nature and autumn in this story, and it was just such a pleasure to read. So the back of the book says, Isabel is a portrait artist with a dangerous set of clients, the immortal fair folk. Yet when she receives her first royal patron, Rook, the autumn prince, she makes a horrific mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes, a weakness that could cost him his life. Furious, Rook escorts Isabel to his kingdom to stand trial for her crime. But their journey is full of danger. Forced to depend on each other for survival, will their alliance blossom into something more? So this is just an incredible read. It is a romance novel. It has humans and elves at the center of it all, and just, as I said, gorgeous descriptions of nature. So I highly recommend this. I just think of it very fondly whenever I think of it. I haven't forgotten the story. It stayed with me, and I think it's just so beautifully written. So Enchantment of Ravens. I'm sure we've all heard of this book. It is Where the Crawdads Sing. This is by Delia Owens. I loved the movie adaptation to this as well. So I actually watched the movie. No, I read the book first. Sorry. I read the book first and then watched the movie straight after. So this is about a girl called Kaya. It's about her life from childhood till she's in her mid-20s, I believe. And it has quite a lot of themes in here. So it has romance, it has a mystery, crime thriller, and it has gorgeous descriptions of nature in this book as well. So I really loved Kaya's character. She just came across as such a strong, independent, resilient person in the story. So as you read it, you're going to have so much respect for her character as I did, I'm sure. And it's just an incredible story about this young woman. So the back says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town on the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone and in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be loved. When two young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. So this is a romance story, like I've said. It's got childhood to lovers in this, and it has betrayal, it's got murder mystery, it's got crime, whodunit. So it's quite an interesting read. It has a lot of topics in here, and I just thought that the protagonist was an incredible character, and that's what made me love the story so much. So I highly recommend Where the Crawdads Sing. To go, the next one in my top 10 of 2022 is none other than Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This is a gorgeous, I love this cover. Look at how gorgeous this cover is. I hope you can see that. Stunning. I absolutely love this cover, like one of my favorite covers of 2022, I think. And it's a gorgeous hardback. I actually got this when I met J. Kristoff at Comic-Con in Sydney. So it's a beautiful hardback cover. Oh, there's a bookmark there with it. Oh. And it's signed by Mr. Kristoff as well. It says, for Zoya, aim your heart at the world. What a beautiful message. Thank you. So this is Empire of the Vampire, and this book, wow, I didn't want it to end really. It was incredible. It brought back my love for vampires again. It was so much fun. I absolutely enjoyed my time reading this book. I absolutely did not want it to end. It is quite a big one, but it's so good that you won't even know where the time went by whilst reading it. It is about a morally grey character and his life and his morally grey choices, but you're rooting for him the whole time. He's got a heart of gold. He's like the ultimate morally grey character. It's got a lot of combat in this, it's got a lot of loyalty, found family, farm family trope, and it has plenty of fantasy. So vampires and humans are in the center of this. So let's read the back of the book. Oh, in this case, the dust jacket. So it says, for nearly 3 decades, vampires have waged war against humanity, building their eternal empire even as they tear down our own. Now, only a few tiny sparks of light endure in a sea of darkness. Gabriel de Leon, half man, half monster, and last remaining Silver Saint, sworn brother of the Holy Silver Order, dedicated to defending the realm from the creatures of the night, is all that stands between the world and its end. Now imprisoned by the very monsters he vowed to destroy, the last Silver Saint is forced to tell his story. A story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the wars of the blood and the forever king and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. So this is a story about quest, found family. It has so many amazing fantasy themes, vampires and humans, and the war between the two. This is a series as well though. The second one hasn't come out yet. Hopefully this year sometime it will. But this is the first one and I cannot wait to read the second one. So excited. Vampires are back. It's about bloody time. I'd have to say I agree. And the book contains beautiful illustrations such as this one. It's all throughout the book and I loved that aspect of reading the story too. Seeing all these beautiful, stunning illustrations throughout the story. So that is Empire of the Vampire. The next one in my list of favorite books of 2022 is, oh, this is adorable. This is called The Cheat Sheet. You might have seen this on a romance book recommendations perhaps. This is about a girl and her best friend. So it's like childhood lovers, friends to lovers as well. It has those tropes in it. So this is a super light-hearted, fluffy romance, feel-good romance, so wholesome, about two best friends and how they feel about each other and the awkwardness that they feel in expressing how they feel towards each other because they're not sure about how the other person's going to react. Okay, let's read the back of the book. Bree Camden is helplessly and secretly in love with her longtime best friend and NFL legend, Nathan Donaldson. And that's the least of her problems. After a car accident ended her chance of becoming a ballerina, Bree now runs her own dance studio, if she can afford the rent to keep it open, that is. When Nathan comes to the rescue and buys the entire building, a stubborn Bree is not happy about it. Rebelling with a couple, okay, maybe more than a couple, of tequila shots, she spills her deepest, darkest secret to a TMZ reporter. One viral video later, the world thinks Nathan and Bree are the perfect couple and Nathan's publicist has an idea that could mean financial security for Bree. The catch? They have to pretend to be in love. Fake dating. For 3 whole weeks. Is now the moment for Bree to finally act on her hidden feelings? Is it possible that Nathan has been hiding some feelings of his own? So this is such a fun read. So quick and easy. I couldn't wait to finish it. It was just such a, I think I read it in like 2 sittings. It was so cute. That is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. Okay, the next book I have here in my top 10 books of 2022 is My Pen is the Wing of a Bird. This is new fiction by Afghan women, so it's compiled together and it is such a profound short story collection. Very difficult to read at times, but shows the strength of women in these different countries, different cultures, the different things that they've had to deal with, the resilience that they have. So it was amazing. It was an amazing read. Just such a powerful book. So the back of the book says, My Pen is the Wing of a Bird is a landmark collection, the first anthology of short fiction by Afghan women in English translation. So it's written by Afghan women, but translated in English. 18 writers tell stories that are both unique and universal of family, work, childhood, friendship, war, gender identity, and cultural traditions. Developed through Untold Right Afghanistan's project, this collection is the result of more than 2 years' collaboration between writers, translators, and editors. It introduces extraordinary writers with original, vital, and unexpected stories to tell, and comes at a pivotal moment in Afghanistan's history when these voices must be heard. Yes, these women deserve to have a voice. They deserve to have their stories being told. And I think that they are such resilient, powerful women. It's deeply moving. I really opened my eyes to different perspectives in life, how people live their lives in these different countries, and in this case Afghanistan, how culture and tradition and education plays a big role in how every day, the day-to-day lives are lived, and how much women have to endure. And it showed how strong women are and how big their hearts are. So it It was an incredible read. Please check the trigger warnings before reading this book as well. Okay, the next book is a book of poetry and prose. This is The Strength in Our Scars by Bianca Sparacino. I hope I'm saying her name correctly there. So it's such a beautiful book, such a gorgeous cover. And it is a book of poetry and prose for people that are sensitive souls, people that want to feel heard and seen. If you need a bit of reassurance, healing, I would definitely highly recommend this book. It made me feel so seen and heard, and it made me feel like the poetry and prose that she's written in her book were written just for me. So it was just so breathtaking. It was so heartfelt. So healing, so beautiful. She's got a wonderful way with her words, and she has a lot of empathy in her writing. You can really feel that. So I highly recommend this book of poetry and prose, The Strength in Our Scars. Just absolutely filled with so many gems. Okay, the next few books that I have didn't quite make it to my top 10 of 2022. However, they are on my honourable mentions list. The first book on my list is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. If you are a lover of Greek mythology like I am, if you love to read retellings of Greek myths, especially where there's Hades and Persephone at the center of it, then I would highly recommend this one. It's full of adventure, love, magic, and it's just a wonderful time. I had so much fun while reading this one. The synopsis at the back of the book reads, Persephone is the goddess of spring, in the title only. Since she was a little girl, flowers have shriveled at a touch. After moving to New Athens, she hoped to lead an unassuming life, disguised as a mortal journalist. All of that changes when she sits down in a forbidden nightclub to play a hand of cards with a hypnotic and mysterious stranger. Hades, god of the dead, has built a gambling empire in the mortal world, and his favorite bets are rumored to be impossible. But nothing has ever intrigued him as much as the goddess offering him a bargain he can't resist. After an encounter with Hades, Persephone finds herself in a contract with the god of the dead, and his terms are impossible. Persephone must create life in the underworld or lose her freedom forever. The bet does more than just expose Persephone's failure as a goddess, however. As she struggles to sow the seeds of her freedom, love for the god of the dead grows, a love that is both captivating and forbidden. So this is a very spicy romance. I must say Hades is... I loved Hades. I loved Hades' character in the story. It's my first time reading a book like this, and it's my first time reading Hades and Persephone Greek mythology retelling. So I had so much fun while reading it, and I highly recommend. Okay, the next book in my honorable mentions list is very popular book, Daisy Jones and the Six. There is currently a TV show that's being made, and I'm very excited to watch it. It is told in an interview style format, so the entire book is told as an interview style, which was something different. I hadn't read anything like that before. It was very interesting. You see how people's perspectives change on things when you hear their side of the story. So the back of the book reads, everyone knows Daisy Jones and the Six. Their albums were on every turntable. They sold out arenas from coast to coast. Their sound defined an era. And then on 12 July 1979, they split. Nobody ever knew why until now. The only thing that's certain is that from the moment Daisy Jones walked barefoot on the stage at the Whiskey, the band were irrevocably changed. This is the story of the incredible rise and fall, the ambition, the desire, the heartbreak, and the music. Everyone was there. Everyone remembers it differently. So this is a very interesting book. I've never read anything in an interview style before, so that was quite exciting to read. I could not put it down. It was that good. And it was so much fun. So I highly recommend. Oh, there's my bookmark. This is Mr. Darcy. You Have Bewitched Me, Body and Soul. If you can see that, I got that off Etsy. It's so cute. I was missing that bookmark. I'm glad I found it. The next book is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. This is just a very short read full of beautiful illustrations, life lessons, profound messages, and I would say it's for all ages. This is by Charlie Mackesy, and let me show you what the inside of the book looks like. It is just gorgeous. Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at all these stunning illustrations and messages on each page. So that's what the entire book looks like. Just beautiful illustrations, messages about kindness, forgiveness, about life, about friendship, love, letting go. And it's just such a beautiful present even to give to someone. And I just really love the messages in here. It's a great book to pick up anytime. Okay, the next book in my honourable mentions, which did not make it to the top 2022 list, top 10 of 2022, is because I'm a little bit biased. This book was written by yours truly, and it is called Old Soul, Wild Heart. I hope you can see the cover there. Let me bring it up nice and close. Yeah, so that's the cover of my book of poetry and prose, and it is about 200 pages. It's a book of poetry and prose, and I've written this over a couple of years based on my observations of the world, my experiences, feelings, and as a writer, I've always found it a way of expressing myself through my writing, my emotions, and it's been a healthy way of letting out those emotions and those feelings and those observations of the world around me. So I've compiled that into a book, and that's my first book. And I love the cover. That's done by my friend Kristen, and how gorgeous is that? It is roses, bees. I absolutely love bees. As you can tell, I'm wearing a bee ring as well. So at the back it says, for the deep feelers, the ones with hearts of gold, the ones that wear their hearts on their sleeve, for the ones that seek a deeper meaning from life and refuse to settle for less, this is for you. So this is my book. I have one more book in my honourable mentions list, and this one I listened to through Audible. It is I'm Glad My Mum Died by Jeanette McCurdy. When I first heard the title, I was very intrigued. I have seen Jeanette McCurdy on Nickelodeon, on iCarly growing up a few times, and I've seen her in some movies. So the title really grabbed my attention, and that's what intrigued me to read it. So whilst reading it, it was really, it's a memoir, so it's quite eye-opening, her experiences as a young person, her relationship with her mother, growing up as well in Hollywood, and how unhealthy that relationship was as well. So it is quite a harrowing read, growing into being her own person, despite struggles she faced while growing up. So please check the trigger warnings before reading I'm Glad My Mum Died, because it deals with a lot of complex issues in the story, such as eating disorders, mental and emotional abuse as a child. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on my book journey. I'm so excited to be here with you all, and I'm so excited to share more book content with you in the future. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment below. I would love to know what your favorite books were of 2022 as well. I've left links of my Instagram and website down below as well, so check those out. Follow me on there, and I would love to hear from you soon. See you in my next video very soon. Bye!